Have you ever prayed and nothing happened? You fasted, you believed, you cried, you waited, and heaven was silent. No sign, no answer, no miracle. Job once cried these same words, "I cry out to you, God, but you do not answer. I stand up, but you merely look at me." Job 30:20. And David said, "How long, Lord? Will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me?" Psalm 13:1. What if I told you silence does not mean absence? What if God does his deepest work when he says the least? Tonight, we're talking about the season nobody prepares you for, the silent season. There was a prophet named Habakkuk who found himself in this place. He cried out, "How long, Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen? Or cry out to you, violence, but you do not save?" Habakkuk 1:2. This wasn't rebellion, this was desperation. He saw injustice everywhere, violence everywhere, confusion everywhere. And God did not immediately explain himself. Imagine being faithful, yet unanswered, praying, yet unheard, trusting, yet confused. But then God said something powerful. "I am going to do something in your days that you would not believe, even if you were told." Habakkuk 1:5. God was working. Habakkuk just couldn't see it yet. Because we assume if God is active, we will see activity. But God often works underground before he works above ground. Roots grow in silence before trees grow in visibility. God's silence is not his absence. It is often his preparation phase. Then we meet another man who loved God deeply, yet felt completely alone. His name was Job. He said, "But if I go to the east, he is not there. If I go to the west, I do not find him. When he is at work in the north, I do not see him. When he turns to the south, I catch no glimpse of him." Job 23:8-9. Job searched and found nothing. No vision, no voice, no explanation. But then he makes one of the most powerful declarations in Scripture. "But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold." Job 23:10. Notice he didn't say if, he said when, meaning the silence had purpose. Gold is not purified in applause. Scripture confirms this. These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold. 1 Peter 1:7. Gold is purified in fire, and fire is quiet. No cheering, no announcement, just transformation. Sometimes God does not remove you from the fire, because the fire is removing something from you. Then there was a family who sent for Jesus when their brother became sick. They said, "Lord, the one you love is sick." John 11:3. They expected urgency. They expected speed. They expected immediate help. But instead, Jesus waited. Scripture says, when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days. John 11:6. Imagine praying and God delaying on purpose. By the time Jesus arrived, Lazarus was dead. Everyone thought it was over. But Jesus had already said, "This sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory." John 11:4. And then, standing before the tomb, Jesus called out, "Lazarus, come out." John 11:43. And the dead man walked out alive. If Jesus had come early, it would have been healing. Because he came late, it became resurrection. Sometimes God delays a lesser miracle because he has prepared a greater one. We call it delay. God calls it timing. Then we meet a young dreamer named Joseph. At 17, he received a promise. Joseph had a dream. Genesis 37:5. But instead of promotion, he was betrayed.
Please don't leave me.
So his brothers sold him for 20 shekels of silver. Genesis 37:28. Instead of honor, he was imprisoned. And Scripture says, the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. Genesis 40:23. Years passed in silence. No prophecy updates, no angel visits, no explanation. Just process. But one day, everything changed. Pharaoh said to him, "I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt." Genesis 41:41. And Joseph finally understood. He said, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." Genesis 50:20. While Joseph thought he was forgotten, God was positioning him. He wasn't being buried, he was being planted. Because seeds look buried before they look blessed. Silence is often strategic positioning. We struggle with silence because we measure God by activity. But God says, "My thoughts are not your thoughts. Neither are your ways my ways." Isaiah 55:8. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways. Isaiah 55:9. Meaning sometimes the story only makes sense later, much later. Scripture reminds us, "For we live by faith, not by sight." 2 Corinthians 5:7. Right now, you may feel stuck. Prayers unanswered, doors closed, direction unclear. But silence is not rejection. Silence can be construction. Deep foundations are built underground where nobody sees. And here is the promise. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him. Romans 8:28. Not some things, all things, even the silent things. So if you are in a silent season, don't quit. Scripture says, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest." Galatians 6:9. Don't walk away. Don't assume God left, because God himself said, "Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you." Hebrews 13:5. One day, what God is building in secret will speak in public, and what felt like nothing was happening will become the reason everything happened. Silence is not abandonment. It may be construction. And sometimes, when God is quiet, he is building something that will speak for generations. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Psalm 37:7. Stay faithful. If this story touched your heart,
Please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps this message reach others who may need it, and it allows us to grow this community together. Your support truly means more than you know. Thank you for being here. You are truly appreciated, and you are part of the family.